All right. Well, I think we can continue to admit people as they come in, but we're very happy for everyone for joining us once again for our SEMpdx virtual monthly event. This one, we have KyleRoof, co-founder of Page Optimizer Pro, Internet Marketing Gold, and High Voltage SEO. He's here today to talk about how to rank more for keywords, use semantic terms, and advanced interlinking. But before we hand it over to Kyle, just a few announcements from SEMpdx. As always, SEMpdx is proud to offer a free membership to everyone and anyone around the U.S. All you have to do is go to sempdx.org/membership, sign up for your free membership today. We're going to be extending that free membership until we once again can meet in person, host live events, both for our monthly events as well as Engage. But with that, you've been hearing me talk a lot about Engage 2021. This year, once again, we're hosting it virtually for the health and safety of all of our participants, our speakers, and everyone here at the board. Just due to the timing lapse, we just couldn't anticipate where the world was going to be at by the summer. But with that, we're excited about all the developments there, but we're still going to be hosting it virtually. That's going to be on August 5th and 6th of 2021, and tickets are now on sale and available to everyone. If you purchased a ticket for Engage 2020, our in-person event that has now been rescheduled for 2022. If you still have those tickets, you'll be receiving a free ticket. Be looking for your inbox for those tickets.
I think you've been muted.
All right.
Sorry. I think the last part was check your inbox for those tickets.
Thank you so much. That was a weird thing. Sorry about that, everyone. Check your inbox for those tickets. If not, go to sempdx.org/engage. They're just $99. It's 2 days, over 20 speakers. The same lineup we'd have at an in-person Engage, just virtually at your desktop, on your mobile phone, or wherever you'd like to take it in. We're very excited about that. We'll be having speaker announcements over the course of this week and into next. A very exciting lineup, and we're happy to once again be able to provide, at least virtually, Engage 2021. So again, go to our website, find out all the details, register today. If you didn't already have a ticket from last year, if you do, again, you'll be getting those in your inbox within the next week or so. We are proud to, as always, our charity of choice, Elevate Oregon, dedicated towards rising and providing educational programs that enhance career opportunities for students in and around all of Oregon. If you're interested in their mission, go to elevateoregon.org. That's elevateoregon.org. We'll be having some more featured conversations about them during Engage 2021. With that, without any further ado, again, I'm going to be handing it off to KyleRoof, who is in 1 a.m. his time and gassed up on coffee. So if you have any questions throughout the presentations, please drop them into the chat. We're going to get through his presentation and then have a live Q&A following his presentation. So keep your questions coming into the chat and we'll get them answered at the end of the presentation. But without any further ado, Kyle, take it away.
Thanks so much. I'm going to share my screen and let me know when you can see my screen.
Yep. You are perfect.
All right, rank for more keywords. Let me move this out of the way. All right, I think we're good to go. All right, so I'm KyleRoof. I'm the lead SEO for High Voltage SEO. We do local to national to international to e-com to everything in between. We have offices in Phoenix, Melbourne, and Berlin. I'm the inventor of Page Optimizer Pro, which is an on-page tool to help you get a competitive edge with your on-page against your competitors. And I'm the co-founder of Internet Marketing Gold. And that's a place where we do scientific tests on Google's algorithms. And then we also have a lot of courses. Of those things, though, I'm probably most famous for Rhinoplasty Plano. Rhinoplasty Plano was a competition from 2018 in SEO Signals Lab, where it was to rank for Rhinoplasty Plano. Rhinoplasty is a nose job, and Plano is right outside of Dallas, Texas. The only conditions were you had to have a brand new domain, so you didn't do anything to it. It was only 30 days. It was a sprint. And after that, you could do whatever you wanted. And 27 professionals entered. I was one of them. I was thinking, Kyle, you and your team are pretty good. Let's give this a go. So we entered, and after the 30 days, we took a fifth, which wasn't bad. That's me at rhinoplastyplano.co. You can see that only 7 people even got a site to ping, as it was such a short amount of time. And you can see nobody's really lighting the world on fire. with the winner at 82, and I was there at 97. But about 2 weeks later, and we didn't touch the site after the competition ended. About 2 weeks later, we went to #1 in maps and 7th organic. About 2 weeks after that, we were #1 organic, and we wiped out the maps, and we were Rhinoplasty Plano as a knowledge panel. And at this point, people really lost their minds about this. And you might be thinking, well, that's great. I mean, you did a good job. Why would they lose minds? And they lost their minds because we built the site entirely in lorem ipsum. What we did is we took lorem ipsum onto the page, and then we did the math. We did the math for the target keyword, its variations and its contextual terms, and then we copied and pasted them into the lorem ipsum in very specific places on the page. And not just the target page, but also our supporting pages were also lorem ipsum. And people really lost it on this. And obviously, you need to write good copy. You need to engage with your visitors, and you obviously want to sell something, and that requires good copy. But what we did this to show was that when it comes to ranking, ranking is a different thing. I like to say that Google's algorithm is an algorithm. And with that in mind, Google is not human. Google is so powerful, and it's amazing at what it can do. But at the end of the day, it's not human. It can't read like you and I can. And in order for rank, you really need to think about the math that Google wants to see. So things are going along great. And then the Search Engine Journal decides to write an article on this, and this article is still up, and you can see it. Google ranks site written in Latin. And in the original of this article, they put my name and the site. They did not contact me ahead of time for a quote or anything like that. And they said that I did this to make fun of Google, and that isn't true at all. I did this to make fun of people that say that all you need to do is write good copy. And so about 6 hours later, the site was de-indexed, and that's the pure spam notice that I got. And I guess that's fair play. But that night, from about 1:15 a.m. to about 1:22 a.m., Google de-indexed 20 of my test sites. And these sites had nothing to do with the competition site. They were sites that I simply run tests on Google's algorithms with, and they were all hit with major spam, and they were all de-indexed. And it wasn't very fun in the moment. But as I started to think about it, I realized that they're validating everything that I'm saying. If I had gotten lucky, or if I was spewing nonsense, they would have rolled their eyes and moved on. But instead, they decided to take a punitive action and go after sites that I controlled that were actually testing Google's algorithm. It doesn't stop there, though. This year, I released a course on white hat SEO. And I know in spite of that, you might think that I'm a black hat SEO, but I'm actually not at all. And I needed to reacquaint myself with the guidelines. And in the no-no list, there's automatically generated content. And there's this one here that says text that makes no sense to the reader, but which may contain search keywords. And I was like, when did that come into play? Because I know that wasn't there when I did the contest. So I took the guideline URL and I put it into the Wayback Machine. And you can see that there are two images that are pre and post the competition. And pre-competition, the rule isn't there. And then post-competition, just after my site went public and everybody could see it, that rule exists, which is pretty remarkable. So Google changed the rules, and then they punished me for that new rule. When you think about what that rule says, that if I write a page that my visitors don't understand, that's my fault. You know, it can't be Google's job to help you to convert. And so really this issue wasn't the content itself. It was that this shows how the algorithms work. This is a way to learn how the algorithm actually works. And Google clearly cared about this. And if they thought that I would stop doing this or that it would dissuade me in any way, they're quite mistaken, because it only empowered me, because then I realized that I knew that I had something, that I had a way to actually determine if something was or was not a ranking factor. And we could see if factors, which factors are stronger, et cetera. And so I actually have a patent on this, on testing and rating individual ranking variables used in search engine algorithms. I take a very mathematic and scientific approach. As I said, within Internet Marketing Gold, we run tests on Google's algorithm, and this is one of the foundational concepts there. So what I'm going to talk about today comes from that. It comes from the mathematic and scientific approach that I take. And also, in spite of the stunt, it is all within Google's guidelines. And if that sounds good to you, let's get to it. I'm going to get into some advanced concepts, but before we get there, you might be saying I'm not advanced, and that's totally fine. Or am I advanced? Look, that's okay. We're going to hit some basics just so we're all on the same page. And then even if you're not advanced and we get to the advanced areas, I think you'll be able to hang in there, and you'll also be able to implement and take some concepts away. So there are three types of important terms for a web page. This next slide, by the way, is going to have a lot more text on it than it should, but I did that so that you can screenshot it and you've got everything in one place if you want to refer to this later. But there are three types of important terms. And the first one is your primary keyword. And you know what this is. It's the main keyword for the page, the main concept of the page. It's often, it has the most search volume, but it's often the most competitive. You know what it is. Your competitors know what it is. It's usually the one that everybody wants. The next set are the helpers, and these are your variations in secondary terms or secondary keywords. Variations are usually close synonyms, or phrase match is a good way to think about from your primary. And you can get these from Google. Google will actually show you a lot of the variations without really having to do any magic. And then they're the bold terms and the SERPs. And so you'll see if your keyword was best purple Frisbee, best is going to be a variation just on its own. Perhaps the word top as a close synonym of that. Best Frisbee. And the important point on variations is that you're probably not trying to rank for them, but they're critically important to your primary keyword, and it's often the way you avoid keyword stuffing. And more often than not, you do not need to use your primary keyword that many times on the page. What will do most of the heavy lifting in terms of your optimization are your variations. The other thing are secondary keywords, and they're often either long tail variations of your primary or something very, very close to it, and you often do want to win those. But the nice thing is that if you properly optimize for a primary, you will win secondaries. If you look in Search Console, you will see that your page isn't ranking for one keyword. Your pages rank for hundreds, if not thousands of keywords. And that's a good benchmark for good SEO. If you're doing good SEO and you have healthy pages, they should be acquiring more keywords. And you'll notice that a lot of the keywords that you're winning aren't even on the page. Well, what it is that's a secondary keyword to your primary, and you've properly optimized your primary, and then you will win the secondary. Last thing are contextual terms. And as it states, these provide meaning and context. If I were to talk about a kitchen, if I said sink, stove, refrigerator, and now I'm talking about a physical kitchen. If I said love, family, home, celebration, now I'm talking about that the kitchen is the heart of the home. And when celebrations happen, families gather there, and it's a place of joy. I'm talking about in a kitchen in both situations, but the contextual terms really tell what I'm talking about. Within the industry, they're often labeled as LSI, and I know that old school SEOs hate that term, and they're right. It is lazy and inaccurate, but it's also the term that the industry has adopted. So if you hear people talk about LSI, they're often talking just what they mean as contextual terms. And as Google becomes more semantic, these are even more and more critically important. If you wanted a way to find these, just even on your own, if you were to strip out your primary keywords, your variations, your secondaries, and then your stop words, and stop words are things like and, the, those types of words, you're left with a bag of words after that. The ones that are most commonly used among your competitors, there's a good chance that those are your contextual terms, and they're extremely important as well. I'll give a second for a screenshot. All right, now that we know those are important terms, there are also places that Google looks on a web page. And there are places that are more important than other places. And I've got them grouped in sections where you can get an idea of them. This is not an exhaustive list by any means, but if you have one in your mind that isn't on this list, you can probably find a close friend, and that's where it would live in terms of importance as a rough guide. But group A, these are the most important. We test these constantly, and they constantly ping as the most important places to put a keyword. And this is your meta title, your page title. It's your title tag. That's the title that search engines see. Your H1, that's the title that humans see on the page. Body content, that's generally speaking paragraph tags, and your URL. You can rank a blank page by putting a keyword in a URL. Group A, that's the strongest, and that's really primarily for your primary keyword. Here's the dirty secret of SEO. If you put your primary keyword one time each of those four places, you've probably done 60% of SEO. Don't overthink it. Put your keyword there, and now it's just filling in some gaps in some other places, but that will do a lot. And if you're in a low competition type term, a longer phrase, for example, you're trying to rank for, if you did that, you would probably do pretty well most of the time. Group B, these are still very important, but they're a little less strong than the top. These are your H2s and H3s, H4s. Those are other tags that you often create sections on your page. Anchor text, that's the clickable text on your page. This isn't a backlink coming in, but it's the text that you can click on the page that sends a very strong signal, especially if it's within the body content. Group C, these are less strong. We're talking about bold and italic. These are very old school concepts where people used to really bash them. I wouldn't do that, but also wouldn't completely ignore them. I would take a quick look. They are not very strong, but they do provide just a little bit. Image alt would also fall into that category. Last section is Group D. These are in a category on their own because humans don't see them. So this is your schema, Open Graph. Open Graph is actually the code that Facebook uses to display within your post, but Google also does crawl it and will look for important terms there. And then certain HTML tags. There are so many HTML tags and also HTML classes that those are the bones of your web page, and Google does crawl those, and there are certain ones that Google will pull out important terms from. Now, if you're on the beginner side of things, don't worry about Group D. Modern page templates and modern CMS takes care of most of that. If you're looking like, hey, I might be intermediate, I'm looking to advance, I might dive in and start to take a look at what you can do with those areas. But those are general concepts on where Google is looking for pages. They're looking for terms on a page. There are a bunch of them. And again, this is not an exhaustive list, but more of a guideline. All right, so now that we've got some of those basics out of the way, let's kind of get to some more advanced concepts, because we want to rank for more keywords, and we're going to talk about semantically related pages. And what I mean by that are pages that have sections that are semantically related. So the page itself is semantically related. So all the things that are on there are related to each other. And if you create pages that are semantically related, you will rank for more keywords. Now, it starts with the subheadings, and you might recall just from the previous slide that that's Group B, what happened to A. And don't forget that Group A is primarily for your primary keyword. So that's where your primary keyword is going to go. Now we're going to talk about the sections on your page, the subheadings, and that's where you can really cue in on creating a page that has sections that are semantically related to each other. So we're looking at our H2s and our H3s. Those create the different sections on your page. Now, what we want to talk about is what we're going to use for those subheadings and the format for the page. And if we start with the format, your page should follow a Roman numeral outline. You might be having sweats about remembering 7th grade, where when you learned about that and your teacher said you should, before you write your essay, you should outline it with a Roman numeral outline. And you may not have done that. Who likes to do that? And you wrote a terrible essay. That's how it works. If you don't outline to begin with, your essay is terrible. It's the same thing with a web page. If you don't outline, if you don't take the moment to outline what you're doing, you're going to write a pretty terrible web page. And I think we've all experienced that. If you can discipline yourself to outline before you get going, you will write better pages, not just for search engines, but also for humans, because humans like to read this way as well. One small side note, really good SEO and good writing are the same thing. These sections should be semantically related so that search engines like them and also humans like them as well, and they provide relevant content. You rank for more keywords, you get more happy visitors at the same time. That said, if we look at the Roman numeral outline, Roman numeral 1, that's the title of our page. That's our H1. Remember, that's the title that humans see. The A in the outline, that's our first subheading. That's our first H2. And then the 1 within the outline, that's going to be where we're filling things in with our paragraph text, our lists, and our tables, and that sort of thing. If you needed more sections, that's where like H3s would go. And then you're going to cycle back up to your H2, and that's the B within the Roman numeral outline. That's then your next H2, and then you have your paragraph text, your list, and your tables, and that's what you fill in within each of those sections. Now, for choosing the subheadings, we want to start with the related searches of our primary keyword. So I'm going to use this example, boat insurance. Boat insurance is the term that I want to win. That's my primary keyword. That's what I'm going to be writing about for this particular page. So I'm going to do that search, and I'm going to scroll to the bottom, and I'm going to find the related searches. And here's the example. We have boat insurance calculator, quote, cheapest boat insurance, best boat insurance, quotes, coverage requirements, and coverage questions. Now, what I want to do from this list is I want to choose my lead subheading. I want to choose my lead H2 out of that. And to determine that, there are a couple different ways to go about this. It's really the one you like the most. And this is the direction you need to write the page. Or if you want to get a little more into it, it could be the one that has the most search volume outside of the primary keyword, or it could be the one with the fewest competitors outside of the keyword. Those are all valid decisions to make, and this is kind of where you as the SEO need to make a judgment call on where does this page need to go, but you choose the one that you like the most. From there, do the search, and now you have two lists. So scroll to the bottom of that search, and now you have two lists of related searches. We're going to look for matches between those two lists. Those matches will become our subheadings. And what we have done is Google has showed us that these two things are related, because you've got the primary list, the lead related search list, your lead H2 list, and the matches between them are related. Google showed us that. Let's look at an example. Within that list, let's say I like boat insurance calculator and cheapest boat insurance. I'm trying to decide which way do I want to go. Both are good for me. They're both good for what I'm trying to accomplish, but which one should I use as my lead for this particular page? So if I did boat insurance calculator and I scroll to the bottom, I look at that, there are three matches between the two lists, the primary list, and then this is my lead. I have boat insurance quote. What does boat insurance coverage, which is really close to that coverage term, boat insurance requirement. 3 matches. I did highlight this cost because I could see how you could go cost, money, cheap. But in this sense, cost is really more related to like the actual cost, and cheap is more of a concept. And so I wouldn't include those as matches. If I went with cheapest boat insurance, there are 2 matches. You have a boat insurance quote and best boat insurance, and there are no calculator terms, which is really important to think about. So there's no wrong way to go with this, because really at the end of the day, you might need to take a page in a certain direction, and that's okay. It's not a right or a wrong choice. It's like just what is best for this situation. But if I went with calculator as lead, then for my sections, I'm going to have quote, requirements, and coverage. And arguably, you could go with cheap. I wouldn't in this situation. I would use that as a separate page, but it's possible. If you go with cheapest as the lead, now we're going to do quote and best. And there were no calculator terms. So if you are really interested in a calculator, that would be a separate page. That is also something else to think about when you're putting these pages together. Do you have to get a calculator on the page? And if you do, then you probably want to go with calculator as a lead. That's an easier call. But that's kind of then the judgment call you need to make. Again, there is no wrong way. It's not a value judgment. This is just what is best for your particular situation. But now you have a list of what you can use for your sections on the page. All right, so in this example, let's say I use calculator as my lead. I decided to go with that one. So we need to put this into our Roman numeral outline. We've got boat insurance. That's our primary keyword. So that's going to be our H1. Then our lead, boat insurance calculator. That's our first H2. And then we've got insurance quotes, requirements for insurance, and what does boat insurance cover. Those are my other sections on the page. Now we need to fill those in. And we want, again, pages that will rank for more keywords that have sections that are semantically related. And the good news is Google will show us, again, what we need to do. We're going to do the related search for each one of those, and then we're going to get the terms from those that we need to use. So let's say with the B there in insurance quotes, what we're going to do is do that search for insurance quotes, scroll to the bottom, and now I'm going to pick out what makes the most sense for me. And this in this area, you can see cheapest, best, and custom. And these are then the concepts that I'm going to use for the paragraph text or the lists or the tables I'm going to create for that section. Now remember, cheapest was a contender for our lead. And that's totally fine. We're not using that as an H2 here. We're using this within the paragraph area or to create concepts out of. So it's okay that there's that overlap. Because again, we know these things are pretty much related, but now we're putting it within that particular section. So if we refer back to our Roman numeral outline, we've got our H1 there, our lead H2, our insurance quotes. And then for the 1, now I'm going to talk about cheapest, best, and custom. That's going to be the text, the tables, or the lists. Now I want to fill in the rest of it. So I'm going to do this related search for each of those to find what Google is telling me is related to that section. And so it looks something like this in the end. In the boat insurance calculator is my lead. I'm probably going to talk about the calculator. I'm probably going to briefly discuss the sections below, as we talked about cheapest, best, and customer and insurance quotes. When I did the search for requirements for insurance, I found it was actually a location-based concept. So now I'm going to talk about by state, by province, or by region. And then boat insurance, what does boat insurance cover? Turns out coverage questions is an actual term. It shows up as is claims advice. So that's great. That's a list, or those are tables. Those are easy to do. What I like about this, and if you were to implement, is that none of the ones are off the top of my head. I didn't make up any of that. They all come from related searches and just following the clicks down. And Google gave it to you. There's no magic trick. There's no special tool you need. You don't really even have to take that much time. You can do this in 10, 15 minutes. And in the end, you end up with a page that has the best chance rate for the most keywords simply because you're giving Google exactly what Google is telling you it likes. You know, Google says that these things are connected, and now you're going to create a page that has the most opportunity to rank for the most amount of keywords. One thing I would note is that if you start doing this, you might click around a bunch, you might try a bunch of different clicks, and you'll see some terms shift. That's okay. I wouldn't get in the weeds about that. What that just means is that it's probably appropriate for multiple directions, and you're not going to get into any kind of issues. Really, you can't go too wrong with this, but don't stress about too much. If you see some list shift a little bit, Google does do that with related searches. And if you see one bouncing between two things, that just means it's appropriate for either, and either which way you go is okay. All right, so then let's get into interlinking, and we're going to talk about a virtual silo. Why do we want to interlink, and how is this going to help us? Well, your links within your site they're going to help you pass power and relevancy. Your own pages get their own authority. They get their own relevancy, and that you can pass that to other pages within your site. You can build the trust if a certain, whichever terms you like, whichever way you like to think about how strong a page is or what's going on with that page and relevancy and authority, you can take that which is within your own site and pass it to a page that you're trying to support or trying to help. One other sobering thought is your site is probably weaker than you think. A concept that I really subscribe to is the idea of a natural tier. There is a tier within your site that Google will reward you immediately for a particular term. You've seen this. You've launched pages. You've seen this before. You put up a page on your site, and you really didn't do a lot of work to it. You just put up. It was kind of maybe a longer phrase term. You put it up, and then just instantly you're on page 2, page 3. You're not really doing anything to it, and it just continues to climb the ladder. And before you know it, it's at the top of page 2, bottom of page 1, and you think you're an SEO god. You've just got it all figured out. Then you do the exact same thing with a term that looks very similar, and you can't even crack the top 100. And you're really trying to think of like, what's the difference between those two things? And the difference is one was probably in your natural tier and the other wasn't. Now, the natural tier one, Google will instantly trust you and will start giving you clicks for that term. And we'll put that page up very high. But the other one needs an SEO boost. An SEO boost would be backlinks, on-page SEO, any other signals that you like or you think that are factoring in, those are SEO boosts. And that's what would be needed to push you up into contention so you can get clicks for that. Now, we've all been through Google updates. When Google takes a boost away, it's not that you're being punished. A link goes away or Google decides it doesn't like that link. You've done something naughty and now you're receiving some sort of action from Google, or just the algorithm changed and what Google liked before, it doesn't like anymore. It's not necessarily a penalty. It's just you're going back down to your natural tier. The boost has been removed. And so you're not penalized. You're just, this is where you belong. And so it's important to continue to raise your natural tier. And in doing so, you will rank for more keywords. And a great way to do this is within using a silo. All right, so I'm going to kind of walk through with words on creating an effective silo. And then I'm going to show you an image and I think it'll be a little bit clearer. But what we're talking about is silo pages in this example. And what I'm talking about, they only live to serve one target page. So we're going to have supporting pages, we're going to have silo pages. And their only job in this scenario is to support a specific target page. That's all that they live for. Because of that, I'm going to put one link at the top of the silo, usually within the first paragraph or so, and that's going to go to my target page, the one page that it's living for. You have 1 to 2 links that are going to other dedicated pages within the silo. 2 pages is not a silo, but 3 could be because you've got your target and 2 supportings. They're going to link to each other and they're going to link to the target page. I'm being very conscious of the links that I'm creating within my site. I don't want any other links within the body. All of these are body links. We don't really care about the menu, the sidebar, the footer. We're just talking about links within the body. That's the relationship that creates it as a virtual silo. And then from the target page, if you can, one link coming from the target page into one silo post so that we can complete a cycle through the entire silo. A critical component here is that these pages can be pages or posts. They can live anywhere on the site. It doesn't matter. We're not talking about a parent-child relationship with a category and subcategory or category and sub-pages. They could be kind of formatted like that structurally within the URL of your site, but what makes this a virtual silo are the links within the body. So they can live anywhere on your site, but the idea is that we've made this connection with links that are within the body. Here's a visual image that I think maybe will clear it up a little bit if you're a little confused by that, but we've got our target page. That's the page that we did all that semantic work on, that we did a Roman numeral outline for, that we really focused in on creating a page that will rank for more terms. And then the supporting posts, these are our silo posts. And you can see the arrows are the links between them. So each of the supporting posts, each all linked to the target page. There's one link going from the target page into the silo, and then the silos link to each other. And you can see that it creates a closed circuit there. And these pages, I'm creating only to support this target page. Now, I know a lot of people, maybe they're saying, I already siloed my pages. And I'm sure that you don't. I've been teaching this for years. And I've even had people that say, hey, I've seen you speak or I took your course and I siloed my pages and they're not working. All right, show me a silo. And does your silo page only link to one target page? And I'll often hear, well, no, but then you haven't done it this way. We're really being very specific with these very specific pages on the page, on your site, and they're linking very specifically to support that target page. does your silo page link out to one or two other silo pages and no other pages? So you're not linking out to another target page, you're not linking out into another silo. Now I'll hear a lot of no buts and then you didn't do it. You must answer yes for both of those questions. Now, not every page on your site needs to fit into a silo, but some do. You need some that you are creating that are going to support that target page, and then they're also going to help you grow your natural tier. But not every page does that. There are perfectly good reasons to have hub pages or resources pages, and then they're going to link to multiple target pages, and you should be doing that. You have silo blog posts that are linking to silos and to target pages, and that makes perfect sense, and you should have that. But what I'm talking about are a very specific subset of pages on your site that you're creating specifically for this purpose. All right, so which terms for these supporting pages? So I know that's the concept and that's how they kind of fit within the site architecture and what they are, but what terms do we need? And it comes back to your natural tier, because we want to post content that has terms that are within your natural tier. And this is, again, that concept of how strong your site is, or how much authority your site is. And I think a good way to do that is by the traffic that your site gets. At least, that's a good framework for what we're talking about. And a way you can do this is by looking at your low clicks for the day and your high clicks for the day. And you can do that over a 3-month span, or you could average them and kind of get an average, and you can see what that average is. But that then traffic number can determine what your tier is, or your strength for your site. While I do use third-party tools for DA, PA, CFTF, DR, UR, it doesn't matter. Well, you have those. I really like traffic as a pure metric for how strong my site particularly is and what Google will trust me for and what I can win quickly. And that's, I think, a true measure of how strong your site is. It also will show you if you've got a site that's completely built on boosts, you are extremely susceptible to Google updates, and you probably have a site that is very volatile. If you have a site that's completely built on content that's posted within your natural tier, that site does not get touched by updates quite as much and recovers very quickly when it does. That range on that low high click, that's your natural tier, and that's what we want to go after. Now, this is not my chart. This comes from Chris Carter, and he's the founder of SERPWoo, and he is a brilliant SEO. And if you want to read a bit more about this concept, search for Builder Society ranking SEO with no resources. And this is a great starting point. I would recommend you as the SEO take your time to do your own chart. And you should be able to do that, but this is Chris's, and this is a great foundational starting point, and it really succinctly articulates what we're talking about, and it's a great place to start. But as an example, let's say that low and that high is 50 to 100. So on Chris's chart here, I'm a level 50, and so I'm looking at that 50 to 100 as my daily clicks that I'm getting from Google. That means that I can go after keywords that have a monthly volume of 50 to 100. So when I'm doing my keyword research and I'm looking for terms for my supporting pages, I'm going to be looking for keywords that are within that 50 to 100 in terms of monthly search volume. So my daily clicks are 50 to 100. That means I can go for keywords that have a monthly search volume of 50 to 100. You do want to keep boosts and brand searches in mind. If you're thinking to yourself as you're opening up your search console and you realize like, oh, we are all built on PBNs. You probably want to keep that in mind, that what your natural tier might be a bit inflated. Also, if you have a disproportionate amount of brand searches, you may want to filter those out to try to determine your natural tier. But then the way to figure it out is to post some content that has basically little to no competition. It should rank quite quickly, very quickly. You should be within the top 100. In Google's indexing issues aside, but it should move fairly quickly without any intervention. Then you're in the right tier. If it doesn't happen, then you're not in the correct tier, and you want to move down and keep moving down until you see that phenomenon happen. The other thing this will help you with is probably determine what are the right keywords, like what is actually little to no competition. That in and of itself is a skill, and so kind of take some time to figure that one out as well, because if you can continue to post and within your tier and with those little to no competitions, you can actually get a lot of exponential growth. Your site will be ranked, your whole site will be ranking for so many more keywords, and you're going to be getting a lot of traffic. And again, you're going to be moving up your tier. And the concept is keep posting in that tier until you move up naturally. It's one of the things like, what should we do this month? Like if you're like, we're really kind of stuck, what should we be doing? Post in your natural tier. And you might say like, okay, well, we've posted, but we haven't moved up. create a new target page. Create a new target page and create content for it, and then start posting there until you're moving up your natural tier. Now, you shouldn't stop doing the SEO that you're doing. This is something that should fit fairly easily into your campaign. Keep doing what you're doing that's successful, that works. Keep in mind that that might be a boost. At some point, Google might not like it. If you're offsetting that with posting content that is relevant to your target page, that is going to be bringing in the kind of traffic that you want, you're building this moat around your site that is protecting you from any kind of disturbance that can happen. That could be an update. That could be a negative attack. Sites that do this are less susceptible to competitors that want to get dirty. And then if something bad happens and you do lose a boost, you will recover much more quickly. I get asked this all the time, so this is a slide on its own. Do I just need 3 silo posts? Kyle, I saw your slide and it had 3 and I've got 3. Now, this is just, it fits nicely on a slide. You will need as many as you need to move up to the next tier is probably a good guideline. Another good guideline is budgets are not infinite. You have limited time, resources, money. And so that is often a driving factor as well, or how much can you handle at one time? Most campaigns really can't handle too much more than a few per target page per month. So just kind of keep all those things in mind, but please also keep in mind this is just illustrative. Your situation will vary depending on what you're doing and what your tier is and how aggressive you're trying to be. This is a live example. So I started this in October, so we're about 7-8 months in. And this is a site that was started from scratch, brand new domain, and we were just posting within our tier. So the first tier was 0 and 0 to 10. And we're just posting in that. The links we have built are really just a couple rounds of citations and some branded Web 2.0s. But this is a live site and you can see how we're doing. And really, it was more of this is actually part of a course that I launched where let's talk about a white hat framework. Let's talk about some concepts and then let's actually do it from scratch. And this site is within the CBD space. And I chose that intentionally because that is one of the most difficult spaces currently. And it's also one of the dirtiest. And if I can do it with basically just content, then you really have no excuse for your particular niche. And what's really kind of exciting is if you look at March 25th, you can see we took a hit. And that was one of the more recent updates that happened. And then you can also see it took us about 2 weeks to recover, and then we exploded. That's really what we're talking about here. We may have been getting a little boost that we weren't shooting for. We were just simply getting that. Google takes the boost away. We take a temporary hit, but we don't drop out and we're gone because we weren't relying on that boost entirely. We were within our natural tier. And so our natural tier helped us recover. And as we continued to post on the same schedule, we not only got back what we lost, but we have excelled. And you can see that just a couple of days ago, there was the core update that just happened. And you can see we just took a little dip. I'm anticipating that we'll recover very quickly from that, just that little drop, and we'll continue to excel. And again, this is all based on posting with your natural tier. This site ranks for thousands and thousands of keywords. And it's the foundation of this is the target pages are semantically related. And then the foundational idea of posting supporting content that's interlinked and is within our natural tier. All right, so quick summary. Let Google show you how to write semantically connected pages. You don't need anything special. You can do it. And you can just let Google show you how to do it and then create those pages. If you want to go more into math, you can definitely do that. And that's something where like Page Optimizer Pro would come in, or tools like that, where if you really want to get into it. But if you're not there, that's okay. You're going to write content that's going to be fantastic. Humans will like it, Google will like it, and you're going to get pages that are ranked for more keywords. Designate pages on your site for your virtual silos that are going to support that target page. And we want those pages to be within your natural tier. So you do have to take the time to figure that out. That is some trial and error. But once you have that dialed in, and also like kind of going for lower competition terms so you can get clicks quickly, once you have that dialed in, you have a real recipe for success. What's great too is that target page might require some boosts. It might require more time. It might require more outreach. It might require more on page. But you're posting these other pieces of content that are related and they're interlinking. They're going to rank faster. They're going to start to trickle in links within your site, and they're going to be the right, trickle traffic, but it's the right traffic. And it's got to think that then you can funnel them up into your target page, and you can actually start to make conversions even before your target page gets anywhere near ranking. Keep posting until you move up a tier. Like if you're ever questioning, like, what should we do right now? There's probably something you could be posting to help create that moat, reduce volatility, rank for more keywords, and get more traffic. So if you do the lesson of this webby, I guarantee you're going to have better ranking websites. I guarantee you're going to rank for more keywords. You're going to be very happy if you're doing this for yourself. Your site's going to be better if you're doing this on the client side. Your clients will be very happy. And you're doing something that's completely within Google's guidelines. And you can crush your competitors with this. You can do very, very well. All right, that's all I got. Thanks so much. You can catch me at internetmarketing.gold and also Page Optimizer Pro. Internet Marketing Gold has a free Facebook group, so you can start there and then work your way over. But I'm happy to answer any all questions, and thanks again.
Well, thank you, Kyle, and everyone here. I know thanks you as well. Any questions for Kyle while we still have them? Just drop them into the chat. And we will get them out to them. I know there was a lot of great information in there. So if you have any thoughts, questions, things that could apply to your current struggles or need for optimizations, just drop them in the chat and we'll get them in front of Kyle.
While they're doing that, it's all right if I jump in and ask a quick question?
Absolutely. Kevin, go for it.
Awesome. Thanks, Garrett. Hey, Kyle. Great presentation. I was messaging some of my teams saying, hey, come check the video out afterwards. Some of them that weren't able to make it, just telling them, I think the way you connected, especially for some of our writers who come from a journalistic background and have that traditional writing style and the Roman numeral and kind of connecting that to the semantic architecture of the page, like that was a great analogy and a great way to structure it. So I really love that. One area I don't know if I'm not fully understanding it, if I disagree with it, or if it's maybe in a certain context, but using traffic as the kind of a measurement there and determining what keywords you go after, it's not fully making sense to me. I'm wondering because part of my mind is saying, well, that could apply as long as you're comparing within the same industry, because this site may have tons of volume out there, right? And have lots of traffic for those pages. And then this specific industry may not. So is there some caveats or different ways you would use that rule or that way of measuring it? Because I'm struggling with that a little bit.
Well, I think if you look at it in a little to no competition type keyword for any niche, if you put up a page and you're not ranking within the top couple pages of Google, one of two things have happened. That's not low competition. So then you know that there's a mistake there. Or Google just won't, Google doesn't trust you for that term. You don't have the authority for it. So it does take some skill to find little to no competition. But by and large, you can probably figure that one out. And then once you realize, we're putting up this content and we should be crushing it and we're not, then that's a real measure of how strong your site is. If you need then to boost that page, then you know that you're relying on boosts and not your natural authority or the level that your site is currently at.
All right. We had a couple questions come in through the chat. I think both are asking almost the same thing. The first question is, can you give an example of what a siloed page would look like for the boat insurance target page? And the second question is, can you give an example of what a silo page with a B2B type manufacturing product page would look like?
So with these, you find the term that you like, and then I just tell my writers just to answer the question or just fill it out. I'm not concerned about really what's going on there, except that I require that the target term is in the title. That's really the main thing that we're shooting for, because remember the top 4 places to put the keyword, so we're going to put in the URL, we're going to put in the meta title, we're going to put in the H1, and then one time in the body. And that should get the job done more times than not, because it's a low competition term. And we've determined it as such, and we're posting within our tier. And when we do that, we're going to rank very well. We don't need to worry about running it through any kind of fancy tool or fancy technique. We just need to get some content in. So I tell them just answer it. This is the term. Just answer it as it should be, and then go from there.
Okay. Anyone else in the group? Any other questions we have for Kyle before we close out our session today? Well, of course, we'll be providing a recording of this presentation to everyone in attendance, and everyone is part part of our membership group. And speaking of membership, if you were interested in joining SEMpdx, we're offering free memberships throughout the length of these COVID times. Go to SEMpdx.org/membership to sign up for your free membership today. Get included in all of our recordings, all of our communications, and all of our special offers that we have for our members. Of course, as we announced earlier today, Engage 2021 Virtual is on for August 5th and 6th. We'll be providing over 20 speakers virtually to all of our attendees. Go to SEMpdx.org/engage to register for your tickets today if you haven't already held over your Engage 2020 ticket. And of course, as always, we're happy to celebrate our charity of choice, Elevate Oregon. That is elevateoregon.org, celebrating and promoting our kids and with career opportunities throughout the state. Go to their website, elevateoregon.org, to find out more about their mission. And stay tuned for more announcements around that for Engage 2021. Kyle, thank you so much for attending and being our gracious contributor towards this another successful June virtual event. Thank you so much for your time, and everyone for joining us today. We'll give back some of your time, and have a great day.